If you've lost motivation, this video is for you. It's no coincidence that you clicked here now. The Bible doesn't ignore discouragement. God speaks directly to those who are weary, to those who have tried everything and see no point in continuing. You don't need ready-made phrases. You need to know what God really says to those who feel they no longer have the strength. Follow the channel, because there are more answers in the Word than you can imagine, and they can change everything for you and the ones you love. There are days when getting out of bed feels like an impossible mission. Your body is heavy, your mind is frozen, and your heart feels lifeless. The will to continue simply doesn't come. And to make matters worse comes the guilt. How can I be like this? Where has my faith gone? It's a kind of silent pain that many people hide, but God sees it. And He doesn't reject you because of it. On the contrary, it's precisely in this state that He wants to find you. Most people think they need to be well to pray, to seek, to draw near to God, but Jesus never asked for this. He said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. It wasn't an invitation for the strong, but for the weak. It's not about striving to look good. It's about having the courage to come to God as you are, broken, tired, and without direction. If all you can do today is just breathe and say, "God, I'm here," that's enough. It starts like this. It starts small. It starts to get tiring, really. But it starts. Heaven doesn't demand strength from the weak. It demands surrender. And it's this honest surrender, even without enthusiasm, that changes everything. God knows your limit. Have you ever felt weak, yet everyone around you pressured you as if you were strong all the time? The truth is, people don't always understand, but God does. He knows your exhaustion, your struggle, and even that pent-up cry, so as not to worry anyone. None of this goes unnoticed in His eyes. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, "God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear." This doesn't mean life will be easy, but it does mean you'll never be alone in any burden. When it seems like everything is falling apart, He sustains you. When you lack strength, He renews you. And when you no longer see any meaning, He shows you He still has a plan. God isn't impressed by your performance. He cares about your heart, and your tired heart is still loved. You don't need to hide your weakness from God. He is the only one who can transform your exhaustion into hope. But to do so, you need to trust. Don't beat yourself up for not being well. Recognize your limits and surrender them to God. The comparison trap, the worst thing you can do when you're unmotivated, is compare yourself. Looking around and seeing everyone else moving along while you feel stagnant only makes you feel even more guilty. But let me remind you of something important. God never called you to live the race other people are racing. He called you to live your own journey at your own pace. Galatians 6:4 says, "Let each one examine his own work, for each one must bear his own load." In other words, the Bible already knew that comparison would be a trap for the soul. The grass may seem greener on the other side, but you don't know the struggle behind their smile. And even if they're making progress, that doesn't invalidate their worth. Every time you compare yourself, you lose focus on what really matters, what God is building in you. It's not about being the fastest, it's about being faithful, about getting up every day and taking a step, even a small one. Motivation doesn't return when you try to copy others' lives, but when you recognize what God is doing in yours. Don't wait until you feel like starting over. There are days when you don't feel like praying, or even getting out of bed. And the worst lie your mind tells you in those moments is, wait until you get better before you start. But the truth is the opposite. Motivation doesn't come before action. It's born as you walk, and the Bible confirms this. In Lamentations 3:22-23, it is written that the Lord's compassion is new every morning. In other words, every day is a new opportunity. And it doesn't depend on your feelings, it depends on your choices. God doesn't wait for you to feel ready to lift you up. He reaches out even when you can't feel anything. So if today all you can do is get out of bed and say, "God, I don't have the strength, but I'm here," that's already a fresh start. Start even if you don't feel like it. Start small. I'm starting to get tired. Because the Holy Spirit doesn't work in perfection, He works in surrender. Motivation returns when we choose to obey, even if we don't feel like it. What paralyzes you is not fear. We often say we're unmotivated because we're afraid. But often what paralyzes us isn't fear, it's pride. Pride in not wanting to fail. Pride in not wanting to appear weak. Pride in not wanting to try again and get frustrated. But this pride disguises itself as self-protection and keeps us stuck in the same place. The Bible is clear on this. Proverbs 16:18 says, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." When you insist on doing everything your way in your own strength, hoping to feel strong enough to act, you distance yourself from the only one who can lift you up. Pride says, "I have to do it alone." But God says, "My grace is sufficient for you." Want to get out of this rut? Start praying differently. God, I no longer want to depend on my own strength. Teach me to depend on yours. This changes everything, because the humble have access to God's help. And when His help comes, fear loses its power and pride can no longer hold you back. Going back to basics is more powerful than it seems when motivation fades. Most people try to find a complex solution, a new course, a trip, a greater purpose. But most of the time, what gets you back on your feet isn't something extraordinary. It's the basics. It's returning to the place where you last encountered God. The Bible shows this when the prophet Elijah, in 1 Kings 19, asked to die. He was exhausted, afraid, and discouraged. And do you know what God did? He didn't give him a lecture nor a new mission. God sent an angel with bread and water, that was it. Elijah ate, rested, and after that he was able to continue his journey. There are days when all you need is food, sleep, and prayer. Don't underestimate these 3 pillars. Nourishing your body, resting your mind, and seeking God are the first steps to clearing the clutter and restoring your spirit. Don't wait for a miraculous revelation. Go back to the simple things. God is at work there. God does not charge you for what you do not have the strength to give. Perhaps what robs you of motivation the most is the burden of having to keep going even when everything inside you screams for a break. But listen, God isn't a demanding boss. He's not looking at you with disappointment. He's looking at you with compassion. Psalm 103:14 says, "For He knows from what we are formed. He remembers that we are dust." God knows. He knows there are days when you can only get out of bed, and there are days when you can't even get out of bed. And He doesn't love you any less for that. Heaven doesn't reject you when you fail. He remains. So instead of beating yourself up for being tired, learn to rest in God. Sometimes the most spiritual act of your day will be taking a deep breath and saying, "This is all I can do today, Lord." And that's okay, because He doesn't expect performance. He wants presence. He wants you. Strength comes when you act, not before. Have you ever noticed that motivation almost never comes before action? We wait until we feel like praying, getting up, getting on with our lives, ... But the truth is, God's strength appears when we move, even when we're weak. It was like that with the lepers Jesus healed on the road, Luke 17:14. They were healed as they went. Strength is not a condition for action, it is a consequence. God does not pour energy into those who merely desire it, but into those who decide. Even if your hands are trembling, still take the first step. It is on the path that He sustains. It is as you walk that He strengthens. This doesn't mean it will be easy, but it does mean you won't be alone. True faith isn't waiting to feel something. It's choosing to do what needs to be done, trusting that He will manifest Himself in the process. So today, don't wait for encouragement. Start, and the strength will come. Just because you've lost motivation doesn't cancel out what God has planned for your life. You might feel like it's past time, that you've failed too much, or that you no longer have the strength. But God doesn't give up on the plans He created. He called you, knowing every fall, every crisis, every moment like this. Romans 11:29 says, "The gifts and calling of God are irrevocable." This means that what God has placed within you remains there, even if it's dormant. The enemy wants to convince you that it's over, but God is saying, "I still choose you." You may not feel ready, but God is. He specializes in lifting broken people and doing something powerful with them. No matter where you've stopped, God can still use you. Not because you're strong, but because He is. Don't give up. Start over with Him. If you've made it this far, know one thing: God saw every detail of what you experienced. He understands your tiredness, your silence, your pauses, and yet He continues to call your name with love. Motivation may have gone, but God's presence never left your side. You don't have to come back with full force. Just come back with what you have today. God restarts stories with broken hearts, and that's exactly how He begins to heal. Follow the channel if this message embraced you. There's more to come. And I want you to be here when God speaks to you again.